Hi, I'm Madeleine and I'm Big Brother Watch's Legal and Policy Officer. I specialise in the UK's emergency response to coronavirus and the implications that has for our human rights and civil liberties. 2021 is off to a pretty bad start. The UK has been plunged back into lockdown while coronavirus cases continue to soar. Here's the top 5 things you need to know about this month's draconian response. Number 1. Excessive policing. The government announced a crackdown on rule breakers, pointing the finger of blame at ordinary people instead of focusing on their own chaotic pandemic mismanagement.
If you don't follow these rules, then the police will enforce them.
We'll not waste time trying to reason with them.
And our police officers are now moving more quickly to issue in the fines where people are clearly breaching coronavirus regulations. And I will back them to do so.
Police have been clamping down on people safely going for walks, throwing snowballs, sitting on benches and playing Pokemon Go. Hundreds of prosecutions under COVID laws have already been overturned because police don't understand their laws they're supposed to be enforcing. We think thousands of COVID fines have also been issued unlawfully, but since the government won't let people appeal them unless they go to court, many of them remain unchallenged. We're calling for a full-scale review of all COVID fines and a route to appeal. Number 2. Online censorship. On the 5th of January, YouTube removed national broadcaster Talk Radio's channel from its platform. Despite Talk Radio being an Ofcom regulated broadcaster, it was removed for allegedly contradicting expert consensus from local health authorities or the World Health Organization. Reserving speech rights for the consensus of authorities is what dictatorships do. In a democracy, we have the right to form our own opinion with the benefit of freedom of information, freedom of expression and freedom of the press. We have the right to seek out different opinions, to debate them and to dissent from the norm, don't we? MP Zara Sultana had her Instagram post taken down, which was critical of the government's COVID policy for allegedly containing false information, except it didn't. When big tech corporations start taking down even politicians' dissent, people must realise that this privatised censorship is out of control and it needs to be challenged. Number 3. Protest bans. At the beginning of January, a protest against lockdown measures took place at Speaker's Corner in London, an area of great historical importance for free expression. The protest was violently broken up by groups of police officers wielding batons. 17 people were arrested, and one young woman was singled out for arrest for no apparent reason. The following day, police marched in formation around Speaker's Corner to deter any other protests. When an asylum seeker who is being held with many others in army barracks decided to protest against his conditions by carrying a bedsheet banner as he walked, he was harassed and surveilled by a group of police officers. Scottish seafood lorry drivers were protesting in their vans against post-Brexit red tape when they were fined for making non-essential journeys to Downing Street. And Black Lives Matter campaigners have been arrested in Cardiff, Bristol and London. In none of these cases there was a serious risk to public health until scores of police turned up. This isn't about protecting public health. This is about using emergency law to silence dissent. Number 4. A digital coup. Big tech companies including Palantir, Faculty, Microsoft and Amazon are involved in collecting and analysing vast amounts of personal data for the government's COVID-19 data store. Huge amounts of personal data are being fed into this data store, not just health data, but information about our movements, criminal records, employment, political and religious belief. There is no justification for this kind of data to be collected, and we don't know what it's being used for. In March, the government promised that once the pandemic was over, the information would be deleted and the project wound down. However, new contracts reveal that the project is going to be expanded for at least another 2 years and has become bigger than just COVID. It's now covering Brexit, other pandemics, the flu, and the contract even states that parts of it can be repurposed for business as usual. We can't let this data black hole become business as usual. The public deserves to have control over how its data is being used and what it's being used for. Number 5. Vaccine passports. The Vaccines Minister, Nadhim Zahawi, said in Parliament there were no plans for vaccine certificates.
No plans to introduce so-called vaccine passporting. Mandating vaccinations is discriminatory and completely wrong.
But we found out there are government-funded plans being trialled right now. The companies involved in the trial, iProve and Mvine, have commercial interests in facial recognition software and national digital ID schemes. iProve is involved in Estonia's mandatory digital ID system, which is the most advanced system in the world. Incidentally, Estonia and the World Health Organization are working together to create a smart digital vaccine certificate with a view to playing a huge role in global digital health governance. The purpose of a vaccine passport is to allow governments and businesses to demand access to people's IDs on a daily basis and restrict access to services, transport and workplaces on the basis of whether or not a person has been vaccinated. This would be vaccine coercion and would create a two-tier society with people being excluded on the basis of their health status. It would exclude people who do not wish to use a smartphone, whether due to age, income or choice. It would exclude people with less access to healthcare, such as undocumented migrants. It would exclude people who are currently unable to get the vaccine, such as pregnant people or people with severe allergies. It would exclude people, whether due to philosophical or religious belief, or for any other reason, who choose not to have a vaccine. Vaccine passports would create the backbone of an oppressive digital ID system, which before long would span medical, work, travel and biometric records for each and every one of us. We're working hard to stop plans for mandatory vaccine certificates. You can read more about how our rights and freedoms are being impacted by the UK's pandemic response in our latest Emergency Powers and Civil Liberties report. Every month we write and send a copy to every MP and peer in Parliament and urge them to follow our recommendations. It is possible to protect civil liberties and human rights while also protecting public health. If you want to get involved, visit our website to find ways you can take action. You can become a supporter for as little as £2 a month or join our mailing list to receive campaign alerts. Big Brother Watch is a small organisation and your support is vital for our success. Finally, if you need advice or help, please drop us an email at info@bigbrotherwatch.org.uk.